Aston Martin making big moves as they plan on building a super team. Detailed data shows Red Bull is in big trouble, and Liam's future is set to be announced soon. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Red Bull's Helmut Marko has opened up on the decision made by the team to continue with Sergio Perez after the summer break. Following a disappointing run into the summer break, the chessboard appeared set up to have a driver change with Liam Lawson and Daniel Ricciardo vying for Sergio Perez's seat at Red Bull, only for the Milton Keynes-based squad to commit to keeping the Mexican in his seat for the foreseeable future. With Perez's performances scarcely contributing towards Red Bull's points score in a championship that is rapidly closing up as McLaren's two drivers chase down Red Bull's lead, the decision to continue with the Mexican driver came as something of a surprise. PlanetF1.com understands that there was some reluctance to put either Lawson or Ricciardo into the seat at this point of the season, with neither certain to represent a clear step forward from Perez's performance level. This was backed up by Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, who wrote about the reasons behind the decision in his column for Speedweek, in which the Austrian said Red Bull are waiting to see what Perez can produce at upcoming circuits, venues at which he has traditionally performed well, such as Baku and Singapore. Sergio Perez will also be in the Red Bull racing car after the summer break, because we now have races on the tracks where he was good last year, and we are relying on stability, Marko said. He has repeatedly shown good performances in between, and he was also very fast on Saturday at the last race weekend in Spa, finishing third. He was allowed to start from second position, and according to the calculations, third place would have been possible. But we saw that his tires had degraded significantly more. He couldn't push, and there was also the fact that we only had 2 sets of the medium tires and 1 set of the hard compound, while the competition had 2 sets of the hard and 1 set of the medium tires available. That was perhaps also a crucial point. Perez doesn't have to become faster but more consistent, and given the alternatives, he is still our best solution. Rumors had circulated that F1's commercial rights holder, Liberty Media, had intervened to request Red Bull keep Perez in his seat, fearing the possible impact on attendances at the Mexico City Grand Prix, but Marko quashed this speculation as being without merit. Reports that his continued involvement is due to Liberty Media's wish for him to drive in Mexico are not true, he said. They certainly want him to contest his home race, but our choice of driver is not based on Liberty's intentions. Perez's contract with Red Bull Racing runs until the end of the 2025 season, but there is still lingering doubt as to whether that full duration will be honored. Less than a year after leaving Mercedes, Mike Elliot could be back in Formula One, with Ferrari reportedly weighing up a move. Although the Scuderia were the favorites to sign Adrian Newey after the Briton announced he'd be saying goodbye Red Bull next season, several rumored issues have since cropped up to curtail those talks. The final one is Aston Martin's $100 million offer to the design legend, with Autosprint claiming a September announcement is on the cards. Ferrari, though, are reportedly considering former Mercedes chief technical officer Mike Elliot, who left the team in October last year. His departure ended a 23-year tenure in Formula One for Elliot that began in 2000 and saw the Briton play a key role in Mercedes' run of 7 championship doubles from 2014 to 2020, with the team also retaining the Constructors' title in 2021. Mercedes said in a statement at the time that Elliot had decided to take a break from the sport in the coming months before deciding upon his next challenge. That decision, the Italian edition of Motorsport claims, could be made soon. Having lost Enrico Cardile to Aston Martin, and now Newey too, the publication claims Ferrari have a Mr. X in mind to fill Cardile's role, and he is not Italian. There is talk of Elliot being named Cardile's heir. Add in that Lewis Hamilton will join Ferrari next season, while longtime Mercedes engineer Loic Serra is taking up his new role as Ferrari's head of chassis performance engineering in October, and the publication reckons all signs are pointing to Elliot, as there are not many profiles of this caliber available on the market. Team boss Fred Vasseur, however, would not give any hints as to who would replace Cardile when asked at the Belgian Grand Prix. I will fill the position during the summer break as it is easiest, but just after the summer break we will announce the new organization, the team boss told the media. But at the end of the day, we have a group of more than 200 people working on these cars, and with 200 people, one person leaving is not always a drama. Pressed on his shortlist, he replied, I have a couple of names with 5 letters. Elliot is currently on gardening leave and will reportedly be free to start with a new team at the beginning of next year. Meanwhile, Diego Tondi appears to have let the cat out of the bag about his promotion at Ferrari, which the team has yet to confirm. He took to social network LinkedIn to upgrade his profile from head of aerodynamic development to Ferrari's head of aerodynamics. Red Bull continues in the lead of the F1 2024 Constructors' Championship. However, it appears to be only a matter of time before McLaren overtakes the Milton Keynes-based team if they fail to introduce an upgrade that will see Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez's RB20 challenger make a performance leap. The Constructors' Championship trophy is in serious jeopardy for Red Bull. After winning with ease in 2022 and 2023, teams have found the optimal development path for their cars, while Red Bull has virtually reached the peak of its performance development and have a driver in Perez really struggling to contribute. McLaren now has a car that is more dominant in virtually every area, with its slow-speed corner performance and corner exit traction standing out. Only Red Bull still has a slight advantage in top speed thanks to the lower drag of the RB20, which gives it greater aero efficiency on straights, an advantage that was reflected clearly during qualifying in Belgium in wet conditions. Despite this change of hegemony, Red Bull is still first in the championship. But Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are the most consistent driver pairing over the last 5 races of the calendar. Only Ferrari has had worse numbers than Red Bull. McLaren has scored 44 points more than Red Bull in the last 5 races. That is 8.8 points more on average per race. The Max Verstappen effect has also helped to reduce these losses in the face of the poor performance of Sergio Perez, who has only scored 21.81% of Red Bull's points since the Spanish GP. As we can see, the Red Bull driver pairing is clearly the most unbalanced, followed by Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. However, Russell's data is affected by his unexpected retirement at the British GP and disqualification at the Belgian GP. They do not really reflect the pretty equal performance of the Mercedes drivers. Despite these worrying numbers, Red Bull has decided to keep Sergio Perez alongside Max Verstappen after the summer break. Certainly, no other Red Bull driver has done enough to merit a seat in the second-best car on the grid at the moment. Still, keeping the Mexican driver and opting for continuity could see Red Bull lose the Constructors' Championship if Perez does not regain his form straight back from the summer break. Even Ferrari could be a threat now that Charles Leclerc seems to have recovered from his recent dip in form. Right now in the summer break, Red Bull's lead over McLaren is 42 points, 63 points over Ferrari, and 142 points over Mercedes. The Silver Arrows have come into the battle perhaps too late to win it, but lay a good foundation for 2025. Looking at all the data and analyzing the trends of the first 14 races of the calendar, it seems reasonable to say that Red Bull is at high risk of losing the Constructors' Championship. Only an immediate reaction from Sergio Perez or an update to the RB20 that allows Max Verstappen to clearly dominate again and Perez to continually fight inside the top 5 can save the Milton Keynes team. Liam Lawson's immediate future in F1 is set to be clarified by Red Bull in the coming weeks, Helmut Marko has confirmed. The Kiwi has been angling to find a way into a full-time Formula One seat for over a year, and Red Bull's Helmut Marko has teased that a decision regarding his future is imminent. Last year, the Red Bull Jr. got his first taste of Formula One action when he stepped into Daniel Ricciardo's AlphaTauri when the Australian driver suffered a hand injury that left him sidelined for 5 races. During his spell as a super sub, Lawson impressed mightily, particularly as he scored a 9th-place points finish in a grueling Singapore Grand Prix. But, with Ricciardo being given the nod for the full-time seat in 2024, Lawson has been left on the sidelines as the reserve driver for the 2 Red Bull teams. With Ricciardo having a slow start to the year, Lawson was then linked with the Australian seat before Ricciardo improved through the middle of the season. Both drivers have since been rumored as being a possibility to slot into the Red Bull in place of the struggling Sergio Perez, only for Red Bull to confirm the continuation of the status quo when the season resumes in Zandvoort. But the time is ticking for Red Bull to make a decision over what to do with Lawson. The option on his contract is understood to be lapsing in September, and with the Kiwi driver a figure of interest for Audi's second seat alongside Nico Hülkenberg, his future with Red Bull needs to be clarified. And that's exactly what is going to happen, according to Helmut Marko, who wrote in his column for Speedweek this week that Red Bull, following them giving Lawson a recent filming day with the Red Bull RB20 and a testing of previous car, TPC, outing at Imola with a 2022 AlphaTauri last week, will outline their plans for Lawson in September. "We will announce what happens next with Liam Lawson in September," he said. The fact that he was able to gain more Formula One kilometers of experience in Imola had been planned for some time. Even if the competition would like to use him on loan, he is not available for that. With Marco confirming Lawson won't be available on loan, this would suggest the Kiwi driver has been assured of a seat for next season. The logical place to assume would be the second V-carb seat, alongside the already confirmed Yuki Tsunoda. This leads to the obvious question of what is happening with Daniel Ricciardo if Lawson is given the V-carb seat. Is the Australian set to step up in place of Sergio Perez, who recently signed a new 2-year deal with the Milton Keynes-based squad, or is Ricciardo being released in order to find opportunities elsewhere? What seems most likely at present is a promotion for Lawson, with Marco also suggesting that Formula 2 junior Isaac Hadjar is set to succeed Lawson as the reserve driver for the 2 Red Bull squads. Our Formula 2 driver Isaac Hadjar took his 4th victory in the top Formula racing class at Spa, Marco said. He clearly has the potential for Formula 1. We'll see how everything develops, but he will certainly take on a role of some kind. It could be that, like Lawson, he will spend a year as a test and simulator driver. Ferrari chairman John Elkann believes Lewis Hamilton has many more years to compete and will not move to the team just to enjoy his retirement. Maranello is expected to be the final stop of a glittering career for Hamilton, but despite the driver being 40 years old by the time of his arrival, Elkann has refuted that he is past his best. Hamilton will turn 40 early next year, but his former teammate Fernando Alonso has already shown it is still possible to compete at the highest level. That then could be a reason why Elkann was confident Hamilton can still perform, and suggested it is not a case of the driver enjoying his retirement in Italy. Some things happen very quickly, he told Corriere dello Sport of the Hamilton move. This was the moment when he and Ferrari found each other. He wants to win the 8th title, Ferrari wants to win, and with Lewis they are stronger. He doesn't come to Ferrari to enjoy his retirement, and it's important to have motivated people around who want to win. Asked explicitly what a 40-year-old driver brings, Elkann said Hamilton's experience and consistency is what counts in the modern era of F1. In Formula 1 there is real competition now, with 4 teams very close: Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes. It is important to always go to the maximum of your potential. Those with more experience have more consistency as demonstrated by Hamilton and also Alonso himself. And consistency counts. With dedication and sacrifice, they are overcoming the physical limits due to age. It is also true that we are in a historical phase in which we live longer, and also the careers of athletes are lengthening. As for Hamilton, he said it was the hardest decision that I think I've ever had to make. Obviously, I've been with Mercedes for, I think it's like 26 years they've supported me, and we've had an absolutely incredible journey together. We've created history within the sport, and it's something I take a lot of pride in, and I'm very proud of what we've achieved. But I think ultimately I'm writing my story, and I felt like it was time to start a new chapter. Of course, I think for every driver growing up, watching the history, watching Michael Schumacher in his prime, I think probably all of us sit in our garage and see the screen pop up, and you see the driver in the red cockpit and you wonder what it would be like to be surrounded by the red, Hamilton said. You go to the Italian Grand Prix and you see the sea of red Ferrari fans, and you can only stand in awe of that. It's a team that's not had huge success recently since 2007, and I saw it as a huge challenge. Without a doubt, even as a kid, I used to play on games as Michael in that car, so it definitely is a dream, and I'm really, really excited about it. Lawrence Stroll is the most convincing person in the F1 paddock, according to Mike Crack, his words potentially ringing true amidst reports they've beaten Ferrari to Adrian Newey's signature. That could be just the start of his swoop, with Italian publication Autosprint claiming Stroll is now also negotiating with Max Verstappen. On a charge to turn Aston Martin into a championship-winning Formula 1 team, Stroll has made key signings including Enrico Cardile from Ferrari as the team's chief technical officer from 2025, and beating almost every team on the grid to Andy Cowell, Mercedes' former engine boss. He'll take up his position as Group Chief Executive Officer in October, but according to Autosprint, Stroll is by no means done. Setting his sights on Red Bull's soon-to-be former design genius, Automotor and Sport reported Stroll told Aston Martin staff to leave the premises so that he could give Newey a private tour of the team's state-of-the-art facilities. Although the Canadian businessman wanted to avoid any leaks, it didn't take long for news of the tour to reach the media. But it seems it has paid off for Aston Martin and Stroll, with Newey reportedly accepting a $100 million deal to join the team with confirmation expected in September. Stroll, it's now being claimed, wants another leading Red Bull star in Max Verstappen, so much so he'd shift his son Lance to Aston Martin's WEC program to make room for the triple world champion. According to the Italian publication, negotiations between the two sides have already begun with an eye to doing a deal for 2026. Should Verstappen swap Red Bull for Aston Martin, that would be a blow for Mercedes and Toto Wolff, with the Austrian having publicly courted the Dutchman all season. But according to Aston Martin team boss Crack, there is no one in the F1 paddock who is more convincing than team owner Stroll. Speaking about Cowell's signing at the British GP, Crack told the media, "Lawrence is the most convincing person of anyone in the paddock. He is very strong in it, but it is not only words. If you look at the factory, it is very impressive what is happening there. The factory and wind tunnel is state-of-the-art, and Andy has a high opinion of Honda. There are a lot of elements in the mix that can promise a good future as Group CEO." Ferrari's fourth attempt at signing Adrian Newey came undone when the design guru wanted the right to veto the hiring of new engineers, claims a respected Italian publication. According to Autosprint, Ferrari have missed out on Newey, and not for the first time, with the 65-year-old set to join Aston Martin in a deal worth $100 million. But where did it all go wrong for Ferrari? No sooner had the press release gone out on May 1st for Red Bull to announce that Chief Technical Officer Adrian Newey will leave the Red Bull Technology Group in the first quarter of 2025, then the rumors linking him to Ferrari began. From a visit to Maranello to conversations in airport lounges, Newey to Ferrari seemed a done deal. And then it wasn't. As time went by without confirmation, the Briton insisted he was still looking at his options and wasn't even sure he wanted to continue in Formula One. Then McLaren were mentioned. Williams said they too would speak with the design legend, before finally it was Aston Martin who were leading the running and who have reportedly crossed the line with Newey's $100 million deal expected to be confirmed in September. Ferrari are once again left to ponder where it all went wrong in their quest to sign Formula One's most accomplished designer. Although there had been rumors of salary issues with Ferrari not wanting to be involved in a bidding war, and also Newey wanting more of a part-time role, while Ferrari wanted someone who would be hands-on, the real issues lies in a veto that Newey wanted. According to Autosprint, Ferrari were happy to match whatever salary demands Newey made with a whatever-it-takes attitude to that. But then, he asked for decision-making powers that are the prerogative of the team principal, and Vasseur said no. The 65-year-old wanted the right of veto on the hiring of new engineers, the allocation of roles, and the acceptance of technical partnerships. Team boss Vasseur put his foot down and said no. He perhaps even dropped a hint about his stance when he spoke to the media at the Hungarian Grand Prix. "I always push to explain that individuals are less important than the group. And it is true when you are signing someone, and it is when you are losing someone," said the Frenchman. "The stability of the group is important, and that the other people are working very well together." Newey's decision to sign with Aston Martin leaves Ferrari a key man short after the departure of Enrico Cardile, who will move to Aston Martin in 2025. The team has since been linked to former Mercedes Chief Technical Officer Mike Elliot, with Vasseur saying he'll make an announcement when F1 returns after the summer break. "For us, it's not a drama, everything is clear. We will announce the new organization after the summer break," he insisted. Thanks for watching the video. Hope everyone is enjoying the summer break.